Yo, what's up YouTube? Back with another video, and today we are going to be dissecting one of the best games of the year. We got the 6-0 undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers at the 5-1 Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens suffering one loss to the Kansas City Chiefs. I thought coming into this game a long time ago, both of these teams were going to be undefeated, and Baltimore has only lost one game to the Kansas City Chiefs, a very good team, and that is reasonable. Even though the Steelers are 6-0 and the Ravens are 5-1, the winner of this game is going to be first place in the AFC North. If the Ravens win, they'll have the same record at 6-1, and they'll have the tiebreaker for head-to-head record. And if the Steelers win, obviously they'll be 7-0, and the Ravens will be 5-2. So yes, this game is very important for both of these teams to win. Of course, they play each other once again on Thanksgiving. So off the bat, I want to point out that Pittsburgh is definitely going to want to win this game. And I say this because they need the wins. Even though the Steelers are 6-0, the Ravens have an even easier schedule than them. It's debatably easier. The hardest games for the Ravens for the rest of the year are the Steelers twice, including this game, and then the Titans, and that's it. Maybe you can throw Baltimore at the Indianapolis Colts in there, but besides that, these games are just so easy that the Pittsburgh Steelers need to win every game that they have on their schedule to even compete for first place in the division. That is how good the Ravens are, and that is how easy both of these schedules are for both of these teams. The hardest games for the Steelers upcoming, of course, are the Ravens twice, and honestly, the Buffalo Bills at the Buffalo Bills, and that's it. So both of these teams have easy schedules, but this game is definitely the most important on their schedules because the AFC North is in balance. The first seed in the AFC, debatably, all depends on the winner of this game. So with that being said, let's look at both of these teams. So many people think the Pittsburgh Steelers are the best team in the NFL, and I do not disagree. The only team that is debatably better than the Steelers are the Kansas City Chiefs, and the only way we'll figure that one out is if they play each other in the playoffs. But besides that, the Steelers are unstoppable with a 6-0 record, very easy schedule, and I expect them to win a lot of games continuing with the season. The reason people think the Steelers are the best team in the NFL is because their team is balanced on every position on the field. Of course, they have one of the best, probably the best defense in the NFL. Their defensive line is the best I've ever seen, of course. Their secondary's been playing a lot better since the beginning of the season, and overall their defense is just amazing. And that defense is good enough to win them games. But we look at their offense, and it is even better. Their offense is averaging over 26 points a game. That is the most in Pittsburgh Steelers history through the first 6 games of the season. This shows how good their offense is playing. So the reason why their offense is good, and honestly, I think this is the best position in the league for all the teams, is the wide receiver position. If you ask yourself who's the best wide receiver on the Pittsburgh Steelers, that is a hard question to answer, and it's because they have so many talented wide receivers who can do anything and everything during a game. Honestly, it's between Juju, Deontay Johnson, and Chase Claypool. James Washington's good, but he's not better than all 3 of those. And besides that, they have Eric Ebron and James Conner. Their offense is so amazing. Their wide receiver group is, it's elite. And I can say this because Juju, he can carry a game. Deontay Johnson, he can carry a game. We saw it against the Titans and against the Broncos. He carried both of those games. Chase Claypool, he can single-handedly carry a game. So it just shows how good these wide receivers are. Along with the wide receivers, James Conner has been playing really good. He's been playing better. Probably the best I've seen James Conner play in his career. His footwork looks pretty nice, and he's getting a lot of rushing yards per game. So we look at the offense, elite, the defense, even more elite. And this is why many people think the Steelers are the best team in the NFL. But it's unfair to assume that because the Baltimore Ravens could be even better. So, one thing that the Steelers do well is, obviously their defense is good, but one thing that they don't do good is forcing fumbles. That's something that has decreased. Obviously, the interceptions are good for the Steelers, the pick six, but I haven't really seen a lot of forced fumbles by the Steelers. It's definitely it's definitely the biggest decline I've seen, but still their defense is playing good. The quarterback just gets sacked, but the forced fumbles, they aren't really happening a lot. But we look at the Ravens defense, and that is happening a lot more than a lot of teams in the NFL. The Ravens are scary, their defense is scary. They can get turnovers. Their defense has so many elite players, including Calais Campbell from the Jaguars, Patrick Queen, the rookie, he's playing like a monster, Marcus Peters, and sorry if I botched his name, but they traded for the Vikings linebacker Yannick, and I don't even want to pronounce his last name. But we look at the Ravens, and they are averaging 1.3 fumbles per game recovered, and that is a very nice stat for their defense. Along with that, they are averaging some of the least amount of points allowed per game. Just like the Steelers, they do not give a lot of points up to teams. The Steelers allow around 20 points per game average this year, and the Ravens allow around 17 points allowed this year. We look at the Steelers schedule and then the Ravens schedule, and honestly, they have very similar schedules, of course, because they're in the same division, but we look at how bad all of these teams are, and I think the Ravens have played the worst of those teams. They've played the Chiefs, that's a good team to play, and that's probably the only hard game they've played this year, but the Washington football team, they're horrible. The Browns, they're horrible. The Bengals, they're horrible. We look at the Eagles, they're horrible. Still, the Steelers play these horrible teams too. But comparing these schedules, I think the Ravens have played the worst offenses. And honestly, it shows because they only allow 17 points per game. Still, I think both of these defenses are going to play very good. Now, we got to look at the Ravens offense because this is definitely an important factor in this game. The Ravens, even though they're 5-1, are ranked last in the NFL in passing. And obviously, it's because Lamar Jackson is a running back. Sure, he'll throw it to Marquise Hollywood-Brown, he'll throw it to Mark Andrews, but besides those two receivers, nobody else is open, and it shows with a number 32 best passing game in the NFL. But to make up for that horrible statistic, they have one of the best rushing offenses in the NFL. It has been number one during this season. It is definitely top 3, top 5 currently right now, week 8. A key factor, and obviously like I said, the running game's obviously good because Lamar Jackson's a running back, Mark Ingram is a running back, Gus Edwards is a running back, and J.K. Dobbins is a running back. They like to run the ball. They have a quarterback who can do everything except, get a lot of passing yards. But Lamar Jackson, he can throw the football, and if he can't, then he'll just run the ball, and he'll get a first down. So, with that being said, we look at both of these teams, both pretty good. They both score a lot of points per game, and they both allow not a lot of points per game. And these teams are very alike in the fact they have good offenses and very good defenses. So, what is the key factor in this game? How is either team going to win? And I think you might have figured it out by now. It is the rushing game for the Ravens offense. If the rushing game stays intact, if it stays elite, the Ravens are going to win this game. But, the problem that Ravens fans don't want to address is that the Steelers' defensive line is the best in the NFL, and obviously, they do not allow good rushing teams to run the ball. Week 6, the Steelers played the Browns that were currently ranked at Week 6, the number 1 rushing offense in the NFL. And what happened? Kareem Hunt is easily contained by the Steelers and doesn't even get close to 50 rushing yards. With 40 rushing yards from Kareem Hunt and 29 from Dontrell Hilliard, the freaking Browns' number 1 rushing offense just gets absolutely contained, absolutely destroyed by the Steelers' defensive line. And the Steelers won that game 7-38 because the Steelers contained that rushing offense. We look at week 7, of course the Steelers play the 5-0 Titans. And what happened during that game? In the first half of that game, the Titans only scored 1 touchdown, and that definitely set a tone for the rest of the first half. Many people said the key factor in that game was Derrick Henry running the football if the Titans want to win. And what happened? Derrick Henry was contained to 75 rushing yards and under 30 rushing yards in the first half. That allowed the Titans to score 7 points in the first half and gave the Steelers the upper hand, giving a 27-7 lead. They definitely, choked that lead, but they still came off on top. And why did the Steelers have such a big lead? Like I said, because Derrick Henry was contained with 20 carries. The dude had 75 rushing yards. And that's because of the Steelers' defensive line. Now, the obvious. We look at the Ravens. Their offense is good. But why is it good? Because they can run the football. The Steelers destroyed the number 1 rushing offense, the Cleveland Browns. Then they destroyed the best running back in the NFL. What do you think is going to happen to Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, Gus Edwards, and J.K. Dobbins? I honestly expect a repeat of the Ravens-Chiefs game where Lamar Jackson's offense was just absolutely contained by the Chiefs. Lamar Jackson will not be able to run the football. He's not going to throw it because he's not a good quarterback in the first place. And that's the tone of the game. Whoever wins this matchup is going to win the game. And I think you already know the Steelers are going to win this matchup. Even though this game is in Baltimore, the Ravens are 5-1. I think the Steelers are the best team in the NFL. And it is a complete mismatch in this game. Obviously, the Ravens' defense can force some turnovers, but the key factor is the Ravens running the football. And it's not going to happen against the Steelers' defensive line. And for that fact, I'm going to pick Pittsburgh to upset the Ravens in Baltimore. It is a division rival. Anything could happen. And even though the Ravens are favored, the Steelers have a better record. And this is AFC North football. Anything could happen. Anything. That is it. Thanks for watching. Adios.